The way I've done this has lost a little bit of video quality, but, you know, not too much I can do about that at this point, because I do video how I do video, and it comes out how it does. That said, huge thank you to Dalamar for saving these games for me. I did not record them as they were being played. And I just realized as I'm starting this video, I should look at the rule set. We should figure out what we're looking at here. So I'm opening that tab right now, and we will take a peek. This is the first of TTAC I'm looking at. I haven't checked the rule set till now, so I haven't done much like hand thinking or anything like that, because I haven't looked at the rule sets yet. And this is the first matches to be played. So what are our rule sets? Set 1, open. Levels 1, 2, and 4, same plus wall combo, so all the relevant rules, all decks, max of 2 level 4 cards. All cards must have 4 different numbers, so no double numbers like no 6 sixes or 2 twos, no rares or semis. Okay, I can keep that in mind. Now, if we look at these hands, they both went for a 7-6 pair, though Dalamar went for two 7-6-3-2s and Frodo went for a 7-6-4-2. Now, 7-6-3-2s are my preference when used alone. There is a case for 7-6-4-2s when used in pairs. It's kind of like the 8-7-6-4 effect, right? The 7-4s and the 6-2 parts all plus wall off each other. I don't think there's like a 4-6-7-2 available. There's definitely like a 2-6-7-4. So I'm not sure there were pairs available here, but it's actually a kind of interesting decision in the pair. In a vacuum, I like the 7-6-3-2. In a pair, maybe it's worth thinking about the 7-6-4-2s. Because they're really like the only things you can get that double each other and wall off each other are 2 and 6, 4 and 7, and 6 and 8. I guess 8 and 9. Yeah. So it's a kind of interesting card type because it does what 8-7-6-4s do, but at a lower level. And that's going to be a less powerful effect, but it's an interesting choice. Dalamar goes for 2-6-4-3-2s, basically opposites, and basically filling the other two corners. Now, the strength of opposites is they play off each other really well with rules. The downside of opposites, of course, is they often just can't capture each other. Now, here the 6-2 parts do a nice job of that. And 5-2-4-1 as the final card. My instinct would be the final card there should go side to side because the hand is more up down. But it also, the 5-1 and the 5-2 can pick off more stuff here as well as the 4-1 than a side to side would be able to pick off. Okay, Frodo's hand. So we got the 7-6-3-2 and the 7-6-4-2 pair. We also have a 6-4-3-2, though sharing a corner with one of the 7-6s. And then we have these two 7-3-2-1 types, again, opposites. Again, going to be clunky if they ever need to recapture each other, but making sure he has a 7 in each direction, which is an interesting choice, right? If we look at Dalamar's hand, there's 7s up and down, and then 6s left and right. But if the 6 left or the 6 right comes out of the hand, there is a real left-right weakness. Frodo is much more convincing going in the directions, but in general, I like Dalamar's card choice more. I think Frodo's hand a little more balanced, Dalamar's hand more the kind of cards I would be choosing to use. Let's see how it goes. Alright. Dalamar starts with the low level in 9. The hand is balanced, right? It wants to go up down more than left right, but it is balanced. So getting rid of the low level card in a corner makes a lot of sense to me. I like that it can be recaptured 2 ways from 6, while Frodo only has 1 way to access it from 6, and it's probably the card he most needs to hold on to, right? That's a lot of downright power that will be needed in the game. This looks to me like a good starter. Let's see how the game continues. Opposite corner, also getting rid of a low level. Okay. So the game kind of takes shape here. One instinct I have is to block 8. And if you can block 8 with something like 3264, right, then the only capture in 6, you have the combo back in 5, either via same or plus. You have multiple ways to combo that. But very annoyingly, if you play 3264 and 8, you get comboed by 3712 and 7, and we're not getting what we want out of that. Okay. 6432 would not allow the combo, but it also wouldn't. It would set up some combinative play. So 6432 and 8 is interesting because if Frodo takes in 6, you have a same in 5 with 3264. Also, if Frodo wants to go in 7, he cannot flip the card in 8 unless he only has a 3 facing out. I'm not quite sure how to evaluate this, but my suspicion is 6432 and 8 is a reasonable move. So that's my first kind of instinct against the opposite corner is, can I force them to take something that's tricky for them to take and that I can play against? I like the look of 6432 and 8. Another thing is, can they recapture the card they just played? Now, they have 2 ways to recapture from 2, and those have a 4 and a 3 facing down. So if we could set up combos against both a 4 and a 3, I don't think we have a way to do so. But if we did, then taking from 4 would be pretty appealing. What about from 4? They can recapture with 7246 or 6234. That's 2 different 2s to the right. Their only recaptures are with 2s to the right. So another really interesting move is 3264 and 2. Because any way they recapture in 4, you have a same in 5 with 6432. Having these parallel hands can really set up this kind of combo potential for the first turn player, because we're going to be able to same off so many numbers they can play. So 2 really appeals to me as well. I also suspect, I have not looked at the game or anything, I suspect there's something with decent combo synergy in 5, though I'm not sure, right? Because Dalamar's hand plays quite well off Frodo's hand, through no fault of Frodo making his hand, they just happen to pick very similar cards. But it doesn't necessarily play that well off the 5-2-4-1, so there might or might not be setups. My instinct is we want to interact, and we should play in 2 or 8, because I think the captures and response are clunky, and right now my instinct is 3-2-6-4 and 2. Looks like a really interesting move. And maybe it just doesn't get anywhere. Maybe something like 6-2-3-4 in that doesn't capture though. If you get 7-2-4-6 out of their hand, they just lose a lot of power. But actually, that probably isn't a very good move, because if 7-2-4-6 goes in 3, we'd really love to go in 6 capturing that with 7-2-3-6, but we start walking into sames. So now I think I like 8 a little more than 2, but that's kind of where I'd be looking. See what Dalamar did. He goes 5, and he goes 5 with the most powerful card in his hand. Now, something I didn't notice till now is that 6-4-3-2 has a plus wall and 8 off that. So he's giving 6-4-3-2 both 6 and 8. And it has 2 and 4. Okay, we can see the appeal of this. 3-2-6-4 also has 2 and 4, not necessarily comboing, but also has them. And 7-2-3-6 also has play in 6. Yeah, this sets up quite a bit. And it sets up quite a bit with 6-4-3-2, which is a unique card in his hand. So it is, while it is certainly clear that Frodo has combo play in a bunch of those squares, he doesn't have quite as much. Seems like a good move to me. Alright, Frodo blocks 8. I should think on both players' turns, shouldn't I? Because I got the file from Dalamar. I'm sort of thinking from Dalamar's perspective. Oh, we did give up all our right power. I didn't really think about that. Okay. This is a good move from Frodo. Like, whether or not this works, I think this is a reasonable fight. I think this is a clever move for 2 reasons. One is, it says, Dalamar, you just use your left power, right? If you're going to play in one of the 2, you usually, because Dalamar's moves set up his cards really well, you don't usually want to play in 1 or 7 because the X, your opponent has setups everywhere, right? So if you're Frodo, you usually want to play in 2, 4, 6, or 8, and the most comfortable one to play in is whichever direction Dalamar has conceded the most. And so by playing an 8, he says, this goes left, you just gave up your right power, this is potentially safe, while also checking the combo potential. Because Dalamar could go in 6 now, with either 7-2-3-6 or 6-4-3-2, and you might be able to combo back because you have something in 2 or 4, but also he has a 3-7-1-2 able to land in 7 at some point, which combos through 8. So Frodo, this can be taken in a combo chain, but Frodo is saying, I'm going to get the combo chain back. And that seems plausible to me. This is a tricky position. So the move that jumps out to me is, if I'm Dalamar here, I'm thinking 6-4-3-2 has 2 and 6, right? It also would play an 8, but those are gone, but it has 2 and 6. And there's a big combo going through those squares, right? Anything that goes through 5 hits 8 and hits 9, and potentially hits other things. So, if I can construct the game such that, for instance, 7 and 8 are occupied, and then I can play in 3, we can set up a game where 6-4-3-2 delivers that kind of killer blow at the end. So 7-2-3-6 in either 4 or 7 seems potentially really appealing to me. Seems like it could be very powerful. Is there a better version? For some reason, I was first drawn to 7-2-3-6 and 4. And my idea was sort of 7-2-3-6 and 4. And your only capture in 7 is weak to 8. So I think if 7-2-4-6 and 7, we can now just go 3-2-6-4 and 3, and the combos through 5 are too severe, right? And if you go in 7 in a way that doesn't capture my card in 4, then I think 3 just wins. I think against 4, you have to block 2 or 6. And if you block 2 or 6, I can now go 7 myself with 3-2-6-4, or 6-4-3-2, depending on the situation, but I did set up a plus for 3-2-6-4. I think 7-2-3-6-4 might win here. I think Frodo's move made a lot of sense, but allowed kind of too severe a combo chain. And maybe a better try, though it gives up more power, would have been 7-2-4-6 and 8, saying I am both safe, but I am not combo susceptible. I think 1 or 4 or 7 should work. I'm not going to spend a ton of time trying to calculate this to the end, but the general concept of go 4 or 7, and if I can snag any cards over there, when I go in 3, it's going to be devastating. Yeah. So, okay. All right, this is the kind of other way to play it is, of course, you had paired the squares 6 and 8, so you're taking the 6 pair. But this is dangerous, right? This is suddenly, we've flipped 5. So now Frodo has control over when 5 flips back, and when 5 flips back, it flips everything back. Frodo has 2 combo squares, both with 3-7-1-2. 3-7-1-2 can land in 2, or it can land in 7. And both combo a whole bunch of things. 7 doesn't even flip 5. But okay, it has to be that card. No other cards have combo potential. So one idea that just brainstorming, I haven't calculated, is something like 7-2-4-6 in 4. Saying, okay, if I play 7, you can combo back, right? I can't take 7 immediately because you combo back. And I can't necessarily take 2 immediately because you combo back in 4, right? Dalamar still has the combo in 4 to reply to Frodo's combo in 2. and Dalamar has a combo in 4 to reply to Frodo's combo in 7. So my instinct is block 4. If Dalamar goes 7, you go 2. If Dalamar goes 2, you go 7. If Dalamar leaves them both open, I don't think he can set up to have both squares. So 7, 2, 4, 6, and 4 looks quite appealing. He goes 3, 6, 7, 2, and 4, which flips 5. I'm always really hesitant to flip 5 before I get the combo, but this is safe. This is safe. So, if Dalamar plays in 7, then Frodo can block 2 with a 7 facing out, and Dalamar cannot take it. It's 5-5 right now, that'll be a tie. Okay. If Dalamar takes 2, he can double capture, but he walks into a combo in 7. And there's nothing to do in 3. So I think this ties. I think this should tie. See what happened. Alright, Dalamar does take in 2. And I think he did send a message saying he shouldn't have played 2. I know what the result is, and I did see that message, but I hadn't looked at the game yet. And yeah, I think going in 7 would have continued the game fine. But now we have the problem that 3-7-1-2 came up so big with its ability to plus wall 4s. Really back and forth game, I think, yeah. So we get a win for Frodo in game 1 in the open game. But I think if we look at the opening, I like how Dalamar opened it, and I also think Frodo's choice of playing something relatively easy to recapture. We saw that the 3-7-1-2 had a ton of play, so this was clearly like the right low level to be thinking to get out of the hand. I do think it got in some trouble, but it also made a bunch of sense. And Dalamar's move in 5 I quite like. I probably would have gone in 2 or 8, but I like more forcing variations. Like, this is a stylistic thing. I don't have a problem with this move. And then I think Frodo makes the first, I haven't checked this with the solver, of course, but just from looking, makes the first kind of high risk error type move of the game. Because flipping 5 here is just so susceptible to serious combo chains. And I think Dalamar can, in some order, sequence going in 4, forcing you to go 7, or going 7, being met by 4, whichever order, and then going in 3 with 6, 4, 3, 2 to sweep. But I think then Dalamar was thinking more about paired squares, right? And thinking more, okay, when they go in 8, I always have 6 in response. And noticing that, like, if you go in 2 afterwards, I have 4 in response, right? We have these paired squares. I always have a response to each thing you do. And then Frodo blocked 4, so Dalamar again went paired square, I need to block 2. But we don't need to block 2 because 5 has been reflipped by Frodo. And so a careless mistake here, and Frodo takes game 1. Alright, we move on to open/closed. And this is the first time I think I'm doing a tournament game where I get to see the hands, right? I get to look at this and look at a closed game and just think, what would I do in this closed game? Oh, this is closed. Okay. So level 6, all rules. I think this is the rule set I did. And can't have more than 2 cards with the same number combo. Yeah, this was my rule set. So, for instance, Dalamar is 2 7-7-5 4s, but you're not allowed a third. 2 7-7-5 3s, not allowed a third. I think sometimes rule sets can be a little bit of a trap, right? Like, let's say the rule set was can use a maximum of 1 8-6-4-2, right? 8-6-4-2 is not the most powerful thing on level 6, right? And so it can sort of direct your thinking to, oh, I should find a way to use my 1-8-6-4-2, but or 1 rare maximum. I should use 1 rare, but maybe rares are just crap on this level, and it is kind of misleading to draw them. So one thing I thought when making the rule set was it might organize people into using pairs, which I didn't realize it would be the closed rule set. I didn't get to pick that part. But for closed especially, that's interesting because it might mean you can start predicting stuff, right? And we did see last game both players liked paired cards. Both players have an affection for paired cards, and we see that again here. Not exact pairs, slightly offset pairs, but that can help in recapturing each other. I'm fine with that. But that also means we might be seeing that for Frodo as well. We have first turn. I would probably play 5-7-2-7 and 5 here. We don't have 4, which is a shame. We do wish like it was 5-7-7-4, not 4-7-7-5. But I think in general, like, keep the 4 corners. They're pretty powerful corners. They're really good at taking 8s. They have some power to take 7s and throw something in 5. I'm not really a corner guy in closed, but I have played very little closed hand stuff. So I'm really not confident in how I would adapt to closed hand stuff. I think I did well last year's TTAC. You can go back and look at the games for that. Like I think I handled it well there, but I'm also not super confident on this. And I've still never played one of the all closed tournaments. I've done pretty well in TTAC, and I think that includes the closed. But I don't really remember how I did many years ago when I actually won one of these. But yeah, tricky. I think something really important is you want to have a number of different hands. You can't stay on a hand. You can swap a few cards out, but you should know the cards you're swapping should be the cards you're holding on to for the end game, right? Um, you want it to look like you're using the same hand when you're not if your hand is similar. So let's say 5-7-2-7 is your starter here. If you were going to change this hand and just like change 1 or 2 cards, swapping the 5-7-2-7 out and then like still starting with that card would be you're playing the same hand and it's very readable. But if you swap the 7-7-5-3 and the 3-5-7 for say like an 8-7-5-3 type pair or something that works a bit differently, and held on to those for endgame, that would function differently while looking the same and would catch people. Okay, so first turn, I think I'd go 5-7-2-7 in 5. Dalamar goes in 4. Is this a bluff? Well, partially, right? Because 8s are available despite the fact that we're not using 8s. And while we can take an 8 if it goes in 7, we cannot take an 8 if it goes in 1. Also, we cannot take a 7 facing out from 7. Do people call these bluffs? I have no idea how often. I don't play side starters in closed. I don't believe in them because I do feel like I'm bluffing, and I tend not to play pure bluffs. I definitely play some semi-bluffs, but not just straight bluffs. And I would feel like I'm bluffing doing this. So this would not be a move I'd play, but that means because I wouldn't play it, I don't know how people tend to react, so I don't know how much of a bluff it is, right? This is something where if you don't have experiential knowledge of how people reply here, I'm not going to be able to evaluate this correctly, right? I just don't know. That said, I would feel really risky about this move because even if they, like, obviously they don't know, yes, an 8 facing out from 1 is safe and a 7 facing out from 7 is safe. But at some point it may just come up that we need to take those numbers there, and it's kind of a pain that we can't. All right. Frodo plays an 8-8 corner. So what do we know? Well, there is a decent chance he has an 8-8 for the opposite corner, but I think actually when we see this card, maybe we don't assume the pair, because people tend to play 8-8s with coverage, and if you have an 8-8 that's opposite it, you suddenly need a lot of coverage for a lot of 8s that you only have 3 cards to cover. Now maybe he has that coverage, right? Could easily have that coverage, but it makes me less thinking that he has these opposite pairs. The other thing is, big corners like this are very combo susceptible, right? It can be really tricky to play next to them unless you have 8s facing them. So if we can get combo play on this card, that's going to feel really good. And especially because we're on first turn, we have last turn. If we can have 1 card for both those squares, that seems really favorable. So the move that jumps out at me is 7-4-5-7 and 5. I don't have a perfect card for 2, but I love the idea of 3-5-7-7 having both 2 and 6. On the other hand, how a lot of people defend this means you'll actually never get much access to 2 or 6. but I think that defense is a little tricky with the 8s facing out. My big downside on this move is I kind of think 7-4-5-7 is our best potential sweeper in a game, in this J where there are cards in 3, 4, and 5, right? Our best card is going to be something like Upright with a lot of plus wall potential. So 7-4-5-7 is kind of the best card in our hand for facing the game. So that's my one hesitancy in wanting to use it. But my instinct is that's the right way to play it. There's also 7-7-5-3 and 5, which sets up kind of much cleaner stuff. 7-4-5-7 for 2, 4-7-7-5 for 6. But I really would like to have it all on one card. Can also think about going in 9. 4-7-7-5 and 9 is kind of interesting. 3-7-7-5 still has both squares. I'm not sure. I think 5 and 9 are the squares to be looking at here. And I would prefer something that sets up 3-5-7-7 to have both squares. Because, especially with such high numbers facing out, it's hard for my opponent to play next to that card. It's just difficult, right? Anything that goes near it, it feels like you have a decent chance to get comboed. So, there's a decent chance those squares get left for late. If they're not left for late, okay, my 3-5-7-7 lands great, that's fine. But if they are left for late, my 3-5-7-7 is both, and we can try to sequence endgames like I would have liked to in the last game, where 3-5-7-7 lands with devastating effect. So my instinct is 4-7-7-5 or 9, or 7-4-5-7 and 5. I think 7-7-5-3 and 5 also makes sense. And other moves don't appeal to me, though also there's a good chance I missed stuff, right? Okay, so we get the 7-7-5-3 version. This is my least favorite of the 3 options, but it is the one that kind of keeps what I think are the more powerful cards in the hand in general, right? The 7-7-5-4s are more powerful than the 7-7-5-3s, though we did just see some 8s, but the direction that 8s are likely to come for the rest of the game, 7-7-5-3 won't be particularly good against, right? Like, it would love to pick up an 8 facing up, right, from 4 or 7, but 8s can't face up from 4 or 7, so that's never going to happen. So this is definitely the weakest card in our hand, and it makes sense to get rid of it, and it gives us combos in both squares. My one downside is I'd really like to have the same card for both squares. 8-2-6-4 in 7. Not a bad move by any means. I sometimes go because I'm thinking. I think it can come across sometimes like I am criticizing the move. In general, this is probably where I would play most in response to this, and it's something that is very unlikely to be comboed, and if it is comboed, you have potential to combo back, and it being comboed isn't that big a deal anyway. Okay. So Dalamar can go, I think the main squares are 6 and 8. I tend to go in 1 a lot more than other people do, so let's keep 1 in mind. The problem with going 8 is 2 of our cards are weak to 5. So I think the card that makes the most sense in 8 that is weak to 5 is 3-5-7-7. Because we now have our other cards I think are cleaner in 2, right? 7-4-5-7 is just a better card to have, and if that works in 2, maybe that's preferable. Maybe it's not. Because if 7-4-5-7 ends up landing in either 1 or 2, sure it's good 2, but it's crap in 1. 3-5-7-7, not as good in 2, but a lot better in 1. So maybe 7-4-5-7-8. I think that's reasonable. I think, especially now that you've seen 4-2-8-8 out of the hand, it's really unlikely there's something else that can plus wall 7-4-5-7. So we could give up 7-4-5-7 here. Yeah, we could play that in 8. That seems reasonable. There's always a chance it just loses, but there's always a chance it just wins, right? I think that should be a little favored first turn. We can go in 6. I don't like going in 6 very much in this specific spot because I really like how much potential play we have on their card in 3. But maybe that means, which card would we use? Yeah, I'm not sure which card to use there. I don't want to flip 3, so that leaves us with 7-4 because I think we're just so susceptible to combos back. Much like last game, I think flipping 5 tended to be a mistake. 7-4-5-7 and 6 and 3-5-7-7 and 6 are what we're left with. We could go 3-5-7-7 and 6 and say we have 4-7-7-5 for the top and 7-4-5-7 for the bottom. That's a pretty powerful effect. The fact that we're matching 5 and 6 means we're not too combo susceptible. The main thing we're giving up there is if they go 1, we might just like lose, right? They go 1, 4-7-7-5 is our card for the top. We probably don't take anything there. And then 7-4-5-7, we really need to see a 7 or 8 facing out, because if they can just capture 5 with something low facing out, we just can't take back enough and we lose. So that's a bit of a scary move to make. The other square I like to look at is 1. And I think 1 has some real appeal here. So say you went 3-5-7-7 in 1. If they do something kind of anywhere other than 2, then you play 4-7-7-5 in 2, and you've locked up 1, 2, and 4. And 7-4-5-7 will take something in the end. Very good chance it takes more than one thing. So you're getting at least a tie, very good chances to win, right? 7-4-5-7 is one of the most guaranteed single captures in existence, right? When playing from the bottom right corner. And so 3-5-7-7 in 1 really has to be met in 2. But what choices do they have to handle it in 2? It's kind of limited, right? Now, they might have something that is weak to 5 in a way where they have combos in 8, so there's some risk, but I think it's a little hard for them to play in 2 because you have 6 in reply. So I think if I was in this position, I think 7-4-5-7 and 8 is fine. I think 3-5-7-7 and 6, we're worried. And I think 3-5-7-7 and 1, we have very good chances to win, though of course if you imagine they have the perfect cards, it all falls apart, but that's just very unlikely. I mean, is there like a 1-8-7-5? I don't think so. There's some other cards that are weak to 5. Maybe they have something perfect for 8, like a 5-3-7-8 or something that you can't really combo back. Yeah, there's ways for it to be problems, but I really like the look of 1. I think I would play 1 here. 8 with 3-5-7-7. So just like last game, we're seeing something where we're not that worried about being weak to 5. And I am very worried about being weak to 5. The other thing I kind of don't love here is we sort of have perfect cards, but we also sort of have really imperfect cards. 7-4-5-7 is our... The thing is, neither of them can take 3 from the angle that they're like, from the squares they're actually likely to land in. So if you're Frodo here, you usually want to slide in 2 or 6. Like, for instance, if you slide in 2, Dalamar plays 1, and you combo in 6. Dalamar can't combo back, and you might be in good shape, or vice versa. You slide in 6, Dalamar plays in 9, and you combo in 2 through 5, and again, you're not weak to combos back. That's the usual defensive mechanism in these positions, and why it's really good not to be weak to 5, because those combo chains are very scary. Okay, Frodo starts in 1. This is tricky for us too. Again, the 8 facing out there that from the start we couldn't take is a little tricky for us. Note that this card would have been pretty scary actually with the line I was endorsing. So that might be a reason not to go with the line I was endorsing. I think at this point we clearly have no read whatsoever on Frodo's hand. It's not that his cards don't click or have some synergies together, but there's also there's not obvious patterns, right? He's he has a 4 down, he has a 4 up somewhere. He's got multiple 8-8s. We won't see any more 8-8-4-2s though. Will we see another 8-6-4-2? I have no idea. I think this is clearly going to be a hard hand to predict, and we shouldn't rely too much on that. So you can play 7, 4, 5, 7, and 9, and hope that anything they can play in 6 that combos 9 will also flip 5. If you do that, and they don't have something super great, you can win, right? They can also just take 9 if they don't flip 5. Can they do that? I don't know. We've seen an 8 down already. I don't know. I feel that's pretty high risk. There's also 4, 7, 7, 5, and 2, which dies if they have 6 without a 5 facing down, unless they overpower 5. 4, 7, 7, 5, 9. 4, 7, 7, 5, 9. That's the stable way to play this position. I should have seen that sooner. 4, 7, 7, 5, 9 forces at least the tie. So I think there are some matches where I think you shouldn't take the tie plus, right? Either you have some specific read on their hand, so you like have a special reason to take a risk, or you are playing someone you consider far better than you, where, there's a path to a clear tie and there's a path to a coin flip, and you would just rather play a coin flip because you think tying leads to playing more games, and getting to a coin flip is a good equity result for you in the matchup. But in general, I think in this kind of position, we should play 4, 7, 7, 5, and 9 and guarantee the tie. Okay, he goes the 2 path. This is higher risk, but obviously this was the move I was kind of ending up on until I saw the forced tie. So I can't be particularly harsh on this one. But I do think the forced tie was cleaner. Really worried about 6 here. Okay, they don't have the combo. We get a tie, and they had to dodge us comboing this, which we easily could have had. So I guess this ended up being a kind of tie plus. And Frodo currently leads game 1-0. Interesting first games. I think there was not enough fear of combos through 5. We did end up seeing 2 8 6 4 2s and 2 8 8 4 2s. That's useful information, right? And Frodo did end up seeing 2 7 7 5 4s and 2 7 7 5 3s. So that leads to kind of 2 thoughts moving forward, I think. One is, obviously you want to keep these hand and these cards in mind, because there's a very good chance you see them again. Also, I would bet the last card in Frodo's hand has a plus wall in 6 against an 8 and 3, because we saw way to recapture from 2, but not a way to recapture from 6. So I would predict the final card to be something that can do that. And so there's something with the potential to take 8s facing down lurking in this hand. But the second thing is, you should expect your opponent to change hands while keeping track of cards they've previously used and liked. But we also have a strong indication from both these players that they will use 2 pairs of cards. So if you see a card, you should be very aware that those numbers are likely to emerge again. And I think keeping that in mind could be useful for later decision making. Interesting first games for TTAC. I do think there were some mistakes around the handling of 5. I think both these games were kind of combo heavy games where it's easy to make errors, but like all the errors that may have been made, I think were all in regard to combo potential through 5.